All attendee riders must be fully paid up members or associates of CWAM and must be fully paid up members or associates of IAM RoadSmart. All riders within CWAM are expected to practice their riding skill and exercise precision within the spirit and discipline of the roadcraft system of riding at all times. You should have your own recovery arrangements. In the event of your motorcycle developing a fault, and once the run leader has established that you cannot proceed, you will be left to wait for your recovery vehicle. You must not attend a social ride if you know that you have a fault with your machine that might cause a breakdown or disruption to the run. You must have a full tank of fuel upon arrival at the meeting point. If you have a particularly small petrol tank, then advise the run leader upon arrival to ascertain where the run breaks or fuel stops are. You must take advantage of the fuel stops and not expect the run leader to stop for you because you didn't top up at the last stop. All social rides will start with a briefing given by the run leader, and all riders must be present. Associates will be asked to declare themselves. The run leader should identify himself or herself and the tail rider. The disclaimer must always be given. The number of attendees should be noted so that presence of all participants can be confirmed at each stop. The ride leader and tail rider at a minimum should have each other's contact numbers in case they need to establish contact with each other in the event of an issue arising on the ride. It is recommended for long rides in particular that an itinerary be provided in advance of the ride, noting precise stopping points and approximate timings. Should the group become divided, this will provide a means to regroup at the next stopping point. A GPX file of the route and stopping points as waypoints may also be useful, where possible, for those riders with GPS. Once the briefing has been concluded, riders should ready themselves for departure in a timely manner. The tail rider should inform the ride leader when everyone is ready to go through comms or by a raised arm. Second position in the group should ideally be occupied by an experienced group rider to facilitate correct staggering within the group. In mixed member-associate rides, associates should be positioned at the front of the group from position 3. Keeping associates at the front enables the leader to monitor progress and reduces the likelihood of any peer pressure or bravado some riders may associate with riding towards the back of the group. The declared tail rider assumes the last position in the group. All other riders must assume positions in front of the tail rider. If Bluetooth meshing technology is used, participating owners of such units should ideally position themselves equidistantly throughout the group to facilitate communication between the ride leader and the tail rider. Riders should identify the rider immediately in front of and behind them so that they can easily recognise them should the group become split up. All riders are expected to be able and willing to ride at the posted speed limits where practical to do so, and to make good progress. When riding at lower speeds, and particularly in built-up areas, the group should assume a staggered formation where possible, with the lead rider towards the outside of the lane and the rider in position 2 to the near side, hazards allowing. However, riders must always sacrifice position for safety. At junctions, riders should bunch up closely together in pairs where practical to facilitate exit from the junction as efficiently as possible. Within each pair, the second rider of the pair should position almost level with, but slightly behind the first rider to leave his or her view unobstructed. On left turns, the lead rider should position towards the near side of the lane. On right turns to the outside of the lane, with rider 2 taking the opposite side, and so on, alternating down the group. Both riders in a pair should move off together. Having made the turn, standard staggering, as described above, should resume. The 2-second rule should be applied as usual. When staggering while moving, the 2-second gap can be considered to be the distance between the rider and the rider physically directly in front. Staggering distance should be closed up whilst waiting at junctions. There is no overtaking within the group. However, see making space. Participants will be expected to be confident in overtaking on all group rides. Anyone lacking in confidence in this skill should seek additional training before participating in group rides. Overtakes should be undertaken on an individual basis. Riders must overtake based on their own observations and not blindly follow the rider in front of them. Having overtaken a target vehicle, riders should continue to make progress and consider the following riders' requirements for space as a landing spot. Riders should keep an eye on the rider behind as part of ongoing observations. If the group turns off a road and the rider has lost sight of the following rider in their mirrors, they should find a safe place to mark the junction or exit and wait. Riders should consider their safety in marking. Where proceeding straight on at roundabouts or junctions, no marker is required. On the approach to congested junctions or roadworks, if the group has been split up by other vehicles and where conditions allow, consider holding back to make space for riders behind to temporarily overtake vehicles which have split the group. Deliberately hold back, giving information to the vehicle behind via a brake light or a hand signal. Once the group sets off again, riders should return to the original ride order. Remember to acknowledge the vehicle behind. Riders should not deliberately slow down within the group in order to increase the pace for themselves. If a rider loses sight of the rider behind, they should not deliberately slow down. Riders should avoid being overly courteous in built-up areas to the extent that they should be when riding solo, for example by allowing vehicles out from side roads and driveways into the middle of the group. All these behaviours are more likely to cause the group to split up. Tightening up the staggered grouping in towns and built-up areas will reduce the likelihood of the group being split up. The lead rider should attempt to slow down before moving into a lower speed limit zone to facilitate a tightening up of the staggered formation. Similarly, smooth and unhurried acceleration into higher speed limits will reduce the likelihood of gaps appearing in the group. Riders intending to leave the ride before a designated stop should tell the declared tail rider and ideally the person behind them before setting off from the previous stopping point. If leaving the ride before the predetermined finish of the ride, wave to the person following, indicate and pull over on a convenient and safe straight section of road. Let the remainder of the group pass before continuing. Do not leave the group ride at a junction or roundabout, as this is likely to split the group.